Still 110 south, Kyle. Yep. Looks like a flat tire. Either, that right rear tire is now flat. Possibly a result of that collision. Hard to say. Maybe the tire started to come off there. I can't imagine any other way, actually, that he would have lost all that air. But it does look like he's now riding on at least one flat tire on the right rear.
What's up, you guys? What's up, everybody? Who's here? Who's here? Jazzy, what's up, Jazzy? Alicia. What's up, you guys? How's it going? How's it going? No sound? You guys can't hear anything? Hold on, they're not saying anything. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, right rear tire smoking. We've caught him again. He's now continuing through Expo Park, and it looks like this may be. Can you? I'm trying to do the scanner, Rob. Can you tell if that's LAPD or CHP? There might be both involved here. At least 2 CHP units. That's an LAPD unit. So 2 LAPD units right behind. California Highway Patrol possibly pulling out some heavier smoke coming from that right rear rim you saw moments ago. That LAPD airship flying through the shot here.
All right, so there's a car chase going on right now in Los Angeles.
Catch up with him. We're now traveling southbound on the 110 freeway. Looks like he might be getting off at Vernon. He's at the Vernon Avenue exit, encountering a lot more traffic. Once again, LAPD, the lead agency here. I thought it was CHP. For a time, there were both agencies behind him, and now you can see LAPD taking over this pursuit once again. Again, this was originally an LAPD following. Suspects believed to be armed and dangerous, and now the pursuit continues here in South LA, southbound side of the 110 freeway, passing 51st Street, where once you get south of downtown, this time of the day, you can expect very heavy traffic, and that's what we're seeing here as the tail end of the rush hour continues. Very heavy traffic on the 110 Harbor Freeway, and he may be looking for an opportunity to get off here. No, he bypasses 51st, and that right rear tire just came flying off that vehicle. That tire just spun off.
Okay, so it lost the tire,
how many units are in
now
there?
we're on the 110
1, 2, 3 LAPD units and an airship overhead tracking his every movement. He's going to start to realize that yeah, I see. Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay, so there's about a dozen units ahead of him that may be getting into position to intercept this pursuit. Unless they're going somewhere
literally
else.
Cannot. The helicopters.
They're on a different. Okay, they're all trying to catch up. They're all trying to catch up with this suspect.
Literally,
about
all
10 units trying to catch up in the truck lanes, and coming around here, they're going to have an opportunity to merge with the main lanes of the 110 freeway. And there are a lot more units about to join this pursuit. Look at all of them coming down the left side of your screen.
Got all the popo right there, riding in the fast track lane right there on the left.
These may be units from the valley. I'm not sure which division they're in, quite frankly. But in any event, the suspect's now getting off in the 60s, southbound 110 freeway. Is he going to go through the red light, making a left turn at the red light, going the wrong way?
Keep in mind, this guy lost the freeway already. Don't
going eastbound on Gage, eastbound Gage. Eastbound Gage under the freeway, coming out onto Broadway, through Broadway, and continuing eastbound on Gage. Eastbound Gage,
how's it going?
LAPD with a full pursuit contingent following him off the freeway. A bunch of them were already committed. They're going to probably be getting off the freeway to try and catch up with this termination once it finally does come to an end. This pursuit probably on limited time here, with that right tire flying off the vehicle, continuing eastbound on Gage Avenue.
Why are they so far? These helicopters are so far, right? Dyer, just in case you're wondering, we are streaming in horizontal mode too. Looks like you might be in vertical, but if you want to switch over, just click on my page.
Continuing to travel at a high rate of speed through surface streets.
Click on the live feed,
slowing down
and then
a little bit now.
Click on the title that doesn't have the
next
mobile
major is
phone
going to be San Pedro through San Pedro Street, eastbound gauge.
How's everybody doing? Jess, how are you? Felicia, how you doing? Got Texas and Ohio in the house. Still doing, oh God, don't remind me.
So it does sound like these are West Valley LAPD units that are in pursuit. Now that's where this pursuit started. They were able to follow him all the way down the 101 freeway. They lost visual.
We haven't had a good car chase in a while.
Did get involved, as you saw, but now it looks like some of the original pursuing officers are now back engaged with this pursuit as he continues through South LA, eastbound on gauge, and it looks like the suspects have now jumped out of the vehicle. It sounds to me like there is a foot bail in progress with suspects fleeing the vehicle on foot. Not sure if the East 62nd Street, 400 East 62nd, Rob. It's probably going to be right in this shot.
Kokomon's watching on TV. Hey. Oh, come on now. A foot bail?
401 East Gauge is what they're calling out. LAPD West Valley units now forming a perimeter.
Oh, come on.
Several suspects on the run. Not sure if the car is still moving, but it does sound like several suspects have bailed from the vehicle. They're now trying to chase these suspects on foot.
Whack. Jazzy stole a box of Snickers.
And it looks like the pursuit has come to an end right there on the 400 block of East 62nd Street. The vehicle now sitting still there. It was on borrowed time. Remember, we saw it losing air after that collision at where was it, Alvarado? I'm starting to lose track. Yeah, that's where the crash was as he came off the freeway, took a hit on the left and the right, and I think that was enough
to
dislodge that tire. And now you see the vehicle has come to a complete stop here. Suspects, multiple suspects, running through this neighborhood along Gage and 62nd.
Right. Make that money, Felicia. Make that money. Make that money. Coco Mom, how you doing? How's recovery going? Oh, look, they took off. They must have. People must be on foot that they're trying to look for. So before I actually went live, this guy was exiting the freeway, and as he was trying to
gather some more info, it does sound like at least 2 suspects, possibly 3 suspects on the run, hiding out in this neighborhood.
Oh, none of them have been obtained. Okay, or detained. DJ Sino Evo.
300 East Gauge, Rob, they're in foot pursuit. Foot pursuit East Gauge. Officers with their guns drawn, now with the suspects in sight, right along this block here after running from the vehicle. They're right in here somewhere, running through private property. Southbound, south of Gage, might be San Pedro. Southbound San Pedro.
Oh no, Coco Mom, what happened?
South of Gage.
What happened? Let me check out the vertical mode. Let me see.
Yep, they're jumping through private property here. Suspects on the run. LAPD West Valley units.
Oh yeah.
With a visual of these suspects as they continue this foot pursuit in the area of Gage and San Pedro. You're looking at Gage Avenue right here. More LAPD units pulling into position here as they form a perimeter around this neighborhood in South LA, trying to track down several pursuit suspects after a wild pursuit has come to an end. Southbound.
The title that doesn't have the mobile phone
running. Yeah, he's probably still going in south, probably.
Tammy, how's it going?
Yep. Somewhere in here, yep.
Magdizzle saying you're back. What's up, Mac? It's not Mamacita anymore? You changed your name back to Mac Dizzle? Oh, come on. Let me see. There you go. Let me just make sure the emojis still work. Okay, cool.
Yep. Between 64th and 62nd, somewhere in here.
We know who you are, Mac. You can't hide. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? How's it going? How's it going?
Traffic Center, Dominic.
Oh,
hey,
come
Liz and David, we are tracking some heavy backups. So let's first take you on these maps here. You can see this first crash that we're tracking over here. This is in Santa Fe Springs.
You are too kind.
Southbound at the 605 connector. Right now, the left lane blocked due to a
Coco Mom, thank you so much for your $20 super chat. Thanks for everyone. Thanks again, everyone, for the support and prayers. Well, we thank you, Coco Mom. You know, you do not have to be donated to the channel. Your attendance here during the lives is more than enough, right? You know that. So I hope you know that y'all really don't have to donate anything to this channel. I'm not even on enough for y'all to be donating. And 10 memberships. Dear Lord, I don't even think we have 10 people in here. Hold on, who received them? Seth, K Beach, Brianna Keeler, Shell, the Great One, Julio. I'm Quilting, Seashell, J Rabbit, Terry Breaker, and Tracy Mason. Oh, dear Lord. Thank you so much, Kokomom. Oh, wrong one. I know. You do what you want. I know. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kokomom. Well, that sucked. That ended really quick. How's everybody doing? How are you guys doing? What are we talking about tonight since this damn car chase ended so fast? We're going to have to switch on over. What are we going to talk about, you guys? What are we going to talk about? Or we can just hang out. We really weren't going to go live. But a car chase came on and thought maybe this was going to be a fun time to come hang out. Brandon, you go ahead and commit that crime. I'll report on it. Let me know what you get into, though. Well, now that we're all here, oh, Jazzy, you making tacos again? All right, let me find something. Anything you guys want to discuss? This is going to be, this was supposed to be a members only live, but StreamYard doesn't know how to do that. So that's one thing StreamYard sucks about. You can't do members only lives. Let me see. Well. What is it, Tuesday? Dear Lord. Mac Dizzle said, what's up? What is everybody on? I don't even, it's, what day are we on, Nancy Guthrie? What day are we on? Hold on, let me see. I said Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace ain't even reporting on this anymore. Mama Jax. Is David getting arrested soon? That's a great question. I don't think so. But while we are here, I know. We'll switch on over to here because Lauren Conlin put out a video. She put one out, what, 22 hours ago? I don't know if there's anything new that she had discussed. I actually watched a few minutes of it, but then I had to turn it off because I didn't think there was anything new. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking the stream. Mama Jax is in the house. DJ See No Evil, you spoke to a high school and their parents. Valerie Verbal, how's it going? How'd it go, DJ See No Evil? What y'all talk about? Yet David is not getting arrested anytime soon. The Burke family could take this to the U.S. Supreme Court if they wanted. The results will be the same, though. Yeah, I think we're gonna be waiting for quite some time, you guys. I think we're gonna. This is probably gonna reach. I don't know. What would you say, First Liberties? You think it's gonna reach the year mark before we hear anything? I think that's where we're headed. I think that's where we're headed, you guys. That is definitely where we are headed. I know Mac Dizzle said yuck. Well, we can go ahead and watch this. I don't know if have you guys seen this yet? Because I like I said, I probably watched about like 3-4 minutes of this, and I gave up. But shout out to Lauren Conlin. Let's go ahead and take a look or listen, not a look. Let's take a listen as to see what she's got to say.
Shockingly, it has been a little over 7 months since the brutal and gruesome discovery of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, her dismembered murder.
Well, First Liberties podcast says that I don't know, but don't expect the trial any sooner than 2027. Yikes.
Murdered body was found in a famous singer, David, his trunk, with no arrests being made. And no real updates from the LAPD or the LADA's office in months, let's say. And I am here trying to continue to keep her case alive because we are talking about a murdered teen girl, a murdered child. And we're talking about someone who's famous connected to this case, literally a celebrity. And again, no arrests and no real updates. So I am here to provide a few of my own updates that you may or may not have heard, starting with the fact that Nathan Hochman, the Los Angeles district attorney, he was on KTLA on April 9th, and he was asked about this case. And I'm going to play the clip of DA Hochman speaking about this case. And I don't know if you feel the same way I do. I'm just not really getting any urgency from him. I feel like, and I noted this on X, I feel like I kind of got a smirk in a way when he was discussing this. And I don't love it. I didn't love it at all, but I will play this for you all so you can see for yourself and judge for yourself.
Yeah, Hochman, I have to ask you, singer David, the grand jury probe is open. The investigation remains open. As of last year, you said your office has not yet received the case. Have you received the case?
Well, we are in the process of investigating that case.
Okay.
It's a very
I don't believe
detailed
anything this guy
process. It's very rigorous. We're going over every stitch of evidence that we can actually obtain. And if and when we get to the point that charges will be filed, I'll make sure that each one of you are one of the first ones to know.
And he said that with a smirk. You'll be the first one to know.
Yeah, Hochman, I have to ask you, singer David.
I don't know about that kind of smirk he had and the sort of laughing at the end. Oh, you'll be the first to know if charges are filed. It's not funny. I mean, again, we've all been waiting 7 months. Her family, her friends have been waiting for 7 months. And that's the answer. Okay. Well, he did say his office is investigating it, which obviously we know there is a grand jury. I have shown you all documents here. I have posted them on X, and we know that David is the target. Now, if you also follow Steve Fisher, and I love Steve, he is so invested in this case, and he's also working directly on this case, as he was hired by the homeowner. He put out a statement, I believe, on the exact 7-month mark of Celeste's body being discovered, which would be April 8th. And in his post, he said something about the grand jury kind of starting over after 30 days if it had not resulted in any sort of indictment or.
Let's go ahead and read that tweet that he put out, because he put this out, I don't know, April 6th. It's now the 14th, so about 8 days ago, right? So he said, let me make this a little bit bigger. Yesterday marked 7 months since David's Tesla was towed with Celeste Rivas Hernandez's dismembered body in the front trunk. 7 months, and we still have nothing but sealed medical examiner records. A sworn affidavit used to testify sealing those records claimed that LAPD only wanted to ensure they received the report before the public. Yet the report, which should be public, remains sealed. I believe it remains sealed because its content would spark public outrage and a demand for answers. I wonder what he means by that, huh? What does he mean? I believe it remains sealed because its content would spark public outrage. Do you think that it may show that Celeste may have died from an overdose? Probably not, right? What do you guys think that those sealed documents might show? Dyer says, why was her body in the trunk on a street? That is one question that I would love to know the answer to, right? They have not even held a basic press conference, something routinely done in high-profile cases. A dismembered 14-year-old does not appear to warrant informing the public, even though a murderer or multiple perpetrators may still be free among us. As far as I'm concerned, this has been a complete failure. I also cannot understand why the family has remained silent. And you know what? That is a big question that everybody is still asking today. I think on a daily basis, people are asking me, like, as if I would know, right? Why hasn't the family spoken out? At this point, there's only one person in her family that I believe is speaking out against everything. And if you guys know who I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. Apparently the medical examiner documents, right? So maybe her autopsy report, all that, etc. People just want to know why, right? Because I think LAPD, and I'll have to find that tweet, but they had mentioned the reason why it's sealed is because they want to be able to get the information out. Well, they want to get the information before the public does, right? And I guess they're afraid of everything leaking. Let me see if I can find that. LAPDPIO. We're going to have to go all the way back to, I think the last thing that they put out regarding Celeste was back in November, if I'm not mistaken. So here, let me just finish reading this really quick. I also cannot understand why the family has remained silent. Are they concerned about what they knew, or are they being intimidated, or is justice for Celeste slowly fading away? Yes, cases can take time, right? We just mentioned that, especially when there is no clear starting point, but that is not the situation here. Criminal grand juries also do not investigate indefinitely. Now, First Liberty's podcast shared some information the last time we did live and basically was saying, oh, that's not necessarily true, right? Criminal grand juries also do not investigate indefinitely. In Los Angeles, criminal grand juries are typically impaneled for 30 days. When a new grand jury is seated, they are provided prior material, but they did not hear the testimony themselves. In many ways, the process starts over. Since David's parents appealed, the previous grand jury's terms has now expired. Here we go again. No indictment, no press release, no press conference, no answers, no justice. Whew. I don't know. That was a lot. KB714, how's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Coco Mom said, my son said he would have lost his job if he made this mistake in this case. That's crazy. Dope Bordeaux, how's it going? Well, I mean, which case do you think has been handled the worst? The Nancy Guthrie case or the Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, remember, these are two different jurisdictions, right? Two different law enforcements. Which one do you believe has had the worst outcome in this case so far? And I don't even know. I don't even think you guys can compare either of the two, right? Because they're two completely separate, different cases, different circumstances. But the only thing that they really share is that there's really nothing coming from law enforcement, FBI, etc. Hey, Doe. Yeah, we're doing good over here. Can't complain. Can't complain. So let's see. Let me see if I can find the one back in November that LAPD put out. I'm gonna have to go back to November. Sorry, you guys. Let me find this really quick. Okay, so we found it. I don't know if you guys can really see this. Let me go to this. So this was one of the last things that we heard from the LAPD, which was the Robbery Homicide Division statement on Celeste Rivas' investigation. Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, is aware of the recent stories posted by various media outlets about David Celeste Rivas' investigation and would like to dispel some misinformation contained in their reporting. I remember when all of this was going down, like that exact day, right? It was so crazy because LAPD, medical examiner's office, and TMZ were going back and forth with everything, right? LAPD said something, TMZ said another. LAPD came out to dispute it, and then TMZ came back and doubled down. You guys remember that? And then the next day they said, we're going to triple down on it. So it continues to read, the body of Celeste Rivas was not found when it was discovered on the body of Celeste Rivas was not frozen, when it was discovered on September 8th. She had not been decapitated, but she was dismembered, right? We have evidence that David traveled to the Santa Barbara area sometime during spring of 2025, and the reason for that trip is still under investigation. Now, some people are saying that this trip to Santa Barbara is just a red herring, and it means absolutely nothing. So this one is weird. Both cases, Tammy said, both cases have me losing faith in law enforcement. As far as the court document or the court order, the LAPD sought to seal the records of the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's investigation into Celeste Rivas' death, and that order was sought only to ensure detectives from Robbery Homicide Division learned of important information surrounding her death before the media and the public. The order was not sought to undermine transparency. So this is basically what SF was talking about, right? No other information will be provided at this time. That's some bullshit, right? Oh, Rocco's in the building too. What's up, Rocco? Abraham got his dog watching. Don't torture him. So that's crazy, you guys. Crazy. And hold on, let me see if I can find this too, because on Reddit, let me see. Let me see. Let me read this. I made a mistake. The video I posted, come to find out, is not Celeste. So there was a video that was floating around on Reddit, and I'm going to see if we can find it. Did you guys see that new video that was posted on Reddit and people were saying that it was Celeste Rivas Hernandez? Well, this is crazy because the person's sharing a photo from their yard. Hold on. Let me just show this video to you guys because apparently this is allegedly Celeste with the family practicing a dance for archive purposes, as both OP Redditors deleted the video. So now there is some crazy talk that this is Celeste. There's a belief that this is not Celeste. What are you guys' thoughts? So this is the person in question, this person in black. They're saying it's Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I do not want to get hit. with copyright. Nope. I don't know if they're practicing for a quince. I don't know what's going on here. What do y'all think? Tammy said, at first I was 100% sure it was her. And then the more I looked at her, the more I looked at their feet doing some AI stuff. I'm not convinced. What? Their feet were doing some AI stuff. I mean, there is no denying that that girl does resemble Celeste, right? But there's no way that we can confirm nor deny that that's her. And this profile of her is really odd because in some photos, if you guys remember that one photo that was where she was at the Fonda, where she was seen backstage, this side image right here looks very, very, very similar. Did she own a white cell phone? Actually, I'm not entirely sure. I think she may have owned a black phone with maybe a white phone case. Not really entirely sure. So let's see what the comments say, because I'm sure some of the people on Reddit have shared. So looks like Straightbit, the mod, posted a comment. Oh, let me see. I got to share this. Hi, I understand why you'd want proof, but I'm not really comfortable sharing personal photos or anything that could expose private family stuff. I'm not trying to mislead anyone, but I want to support awareness for Celeste. Let's see if they share any photos. Oh, let me go back. This is an image. This is a video? No. Is that Celeste? I kind of... Oops, hold on. This one right here. This looks like Celeste, right? I mean, this photo is really blurry. DJ See No Evil says, no, I didn't see it. What's up, Sydney? So, Tammy, I don't know. This is a very blurry image. I don't know. You think it looks anything like her? That's the image of her. Let me see if I can just get rid of myself. That right there. Then they have that photo right there. Shoulders look wide. Shoulders look too wide? Magnus, is that what you're saying? Sorry, just going to play a little bit of music so it doesn't sound dead. Yeah, do me a favor, you guys. We're here randomly, but if you guys do me a favor, hit that like button. We're just hanging out. We're hanging out. We're chatting. What do you guys say? I mean, this is clearly Celeste, right? This is the side image of the other person. You know what? That girl, I mean, she kind of has like the same nose. Let's see if we can open the image in a different tab. There's this. Why is it like that? There's that. Yeah, it was debunked today. Let me see. Somebody posted on Celeste Rivas Hernandez subreddit today. We'll share that one. It said, I made a mistake. The video I posted, come to find out it's not Celeste Rivas Hernandez. A dancer from the video commented and she gave me proof of the yard and a close-up. And a close-up photo of the girl. I can say 100%. I could say percent 100 positive. It wasn't Celeste. I will post the photo of the girl and I will show the yard. Let me just make sure I count the fingers and make sure that they didn't AI this photo. Coco Mom says the nose looks the same, but Tammy says, I think the nose looks different. Norma Guerra, how's it going? What's up, birthday twin? Let's see what the comments say. One thing about me, and like most people, I will own up to my mistake. I'm sorry for the mistake I made. Okay, look, it's weird to be posting family events of a dead girl anyway. Have some respect. Ugh. I basically said the same thing with the original post and got downvoted. Let's see. I do have respect. I apologize for the mistake I made. Also, it wasn't a family event. It was a dance rehearsal for a quinceañera. What the F do you think a quince is? God, dear Lord. A family dance for a family event. In what universe was this not a family event? Are you thinking event means special occasion? Because it just means something that took place. Okay, all they're doing is going back and forth about it. City Seed. You're doing okay? Good, good, good. Normal, we're also streaming in the horizontal mode too. So if you don't like the vertical mode, you can join us over here. There has been nothing really popping up on the Reddits. We just watched this. This was a post that went up by a user named Weepling. Is this another subtle dig by Asia? Asia posted a photo, not going on IG because I have Coachella FOMO. Shows a photo of a person wearing a sweater that says, just a whore with a dream. Doe. Yeah, if you're in vertical mode and you don't like it, go to my page, click on live, and then find the live without the mobile phone. That's how you can escape the vertical view. So it says here, Asia seems to be having FOMO over not going to Coachella this year. She posted this on her story a few days ago. And could this be another dig at David? Maybe irrelevant, but we know that she likes to make subtle insults at others, and it seems to be a clear pattern for them. With this new timeline in mind, it raises new questions about when exactly Celeste had been last spoken with anyone. With this new potential timeline, it raises more questions about when exactly she had passed away, right? And the reason why this photo was posted, I'm sure, is because SF in his last interview that he did with Ashley Manfield, I think it was, they were talking about a new timeline where she potentially, yeah, I hear you, First Liberties podcast. They're definitely hard to watch, but you know, it's funny. Maybe not this one particularly, but a lot of people watch lives in vertical mode. It's weird. It's weird. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But more people watch them. It is crazy. But anyways, going back to this post, we know that Asia has posted 2 posts publicly that seem to be a potential dig at David, right? The very first one that she posted was when she posted a photo with Trent Kim. I'll see if I can find that. Asia Collins, Trent, Oslo, Norway. That is crazy. I typed in Asia Collins, Trent Kim, Oslo, Norway. And the first thing that pops up is a thing called Faces of Suicide. That's so weird. Cash H celebrating 2 months as a member. What's up? What's up? How's it going? Let me see. see it. I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it. What's up? The sky. That's what's up. Nope, I don't see it. No photo of Trent Kim in Asia. So anyway, she posted a post of her and Trent Kim in Oslo, Norway. And it was just kind of funny because David's first tour of his European stop was supposed to be in Oslo, Norway, and he never made it, right? The second post that she put up was, what was the second one? I'm trying to remember. Sid, help me out. What was the second one that she put up? I can't remember. It's like at the tip of my tongue, but I'm forgetting. It's been a while since I've been on live, y'all. I don't know how to act on live anymore. There's another one that she posted anyways. And then there's this one right here that you guys see that may be a potential dig at David. And I think, I mean, I don't know what the timeline is. Oh, the second one that she did was she was in Brazil. She posted photos of her in Brazil, and it was right around the same weekend that David was supposed to be performing at Lollapalooza. And clearly David wasn't there performing. And then you have this one right here, which is a Coachella FOMO post. And I don't know, this is probably reaching, right? Could be for reals, but this is her posting a Coachella pic. And now there's a potential shift in the timeline where maybe they believe that Celeste may have died around April, which would have been, I think it would have been the Coachella weekend of last year. So not sure. How do you guys feel about that? You guys think that this is a reach? You guys think there's anything to it? Said I think that she went with David as a stylist. In my opinion, I think Celeste saw a family member for 420. It's a day where everybody smokes. It's me, BJE8634. What's up? How's it going? Just arrived. What are we talking about? Not much. We're just going over some Reddit stuff. We were watching Car Chase earlier, but that ended literally the moment that we got on. So now we're just hanging out. What is everybody up to on a Tuesday night? Tuesday evening? Is it Wednesday for anybody? The family scumbags. Oops, where's it at? Cash, you've never heard of David before this case? And you barely heard of Coachella? Wow. I know. Nightbot is one of our stalkers here. Our friendly reminder. We'll never let you forget. Asia is worldwide. Yeah, don't know how to spell it. It's okay. Really? Car chases every night? Are they televised on TV? Because that's the thing for us out here in LA. We love our car chases. We love our car chases. So I don't know. This is a post from Asia. Celebrating her FOMO of Coachella. Odd, very odd post for her to put up, but Nightbot follows you everywhere, right? No matter what chat you're in. First Liberties, what state are you in? Tammy's 8 minutes away from falling asleep, 10 minutes away from falling asleep. Well, I'm glad we can tuck you in. Honestly, I really wasn't going to go on. So we really have nothing planned for today. Oh, you're in California too, First Liberty. San Bernardino in the house. Okay. You're right next door. We're neighbors. We are neighbors. It's me, says they should be. They scramble the radio. We rely on the Ring neighborhood alert to find out what's up. It's funny, out here in LA, we have the Citizens app, but I'm sure you guys have it out there too. But the Citizen app just sends you all the alerts. Like right now, I got an alert that said suspect vehicle involved in a crash 300 feet away from work. A person was assaulted at Ralph's. Structure fire in my city, 6 miles away. That's crazy. There's fires that start every day. Tracy Mason, you were gifted a membership. Guilty of crime. What's up, Jay? How's it going? Shouldn't you be getting some rest? You just had a long live today. Put on a great show, you guys. Do me a favor. Go ahead and follow Guilty of Crime. Hold on. When I'm not streaming, I'm waiting for 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Jay to come on and do their show. We're going to drop your link in the chat, Jay. Guilty of Crime. Do me a favor, you guys. Go check out Jay's channel. I just put it right there in the chat. Awesome channel. Great content. KCMO is accurate with citizens, but not merit dependence. Meth dependence. Coco Mom, you're in Michigan? What time zone is Michigan in? Is it Eastern? It's okay, Jay. Don't even trip. Don't even worry about it. You're good. Your presence here is more than enough, so you're good. You already subscribed? No, don't unsubscribe to Jay if you're already sub. 10:55. That's Eastern. That's considered Eastern time, right? Y'all are 3 hours ahead. Or Jazzy, that's you at okay. Jazzy, you're in Ohio, so that's definitely Eastern. Well, while we're here, how are you guys feeling about Anna Kepner? How are you guys feeling about that? Let's go ahead and weren't planning to go live, but here we are. We're going to talk about Anna Kepner, you guys. Let me go ahead and turn this down. How many of you guys have seen this already? I don't know if Strategic played this earlier, but let's go ahead and take a look at this, you guys.
Breaking news. The 16-year-old stepbrother of the Florida teenager found dead aboard a Carnival cruise ship is being tried as an adult. And not only is he facing a charge of first-degree murder, he's also facing a charge of aggravated sexual abuse. And the feds are trying Timothy Hudson as an adult. Now, right now, he is still free. He is not behind bars, and we're looking at how quickly that could potentially change with some newly unsealed court filings. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
So for those of you guys that don't know, Anna Kepner, 18-year-old, was on a cruise with her family member, right? She was a cheerleader. She was on a Carnival cruise ship with her family members. And one night, right, they went on the cruise ship. I think it was November 2nd. And by November 7th, she had lost her life. Apparently she was murdered. She was killed by her stepbrother, 16-year-old Timothy Hudson, who had manually asphyxiated her, but literally choking her out. And some of the stuff that we've learned today is crazy, right? We've learned that there have been some unsealed charges. And obviously this video is going to talk about it. So I'll just stop talking and let you guys just watch this.
All right, let's get to it. This is some big news today in a case a lot of you have been following. Anna Kepner, her stepbrother, has just been indicted as an adult on a federal murder charge and an aggravated sexual abuse charge. Anna Kepner was 18 years old, and she was found dead in her stateroom aboard a Carnival cruise ship back in November 2025. And police are now saying her own stepbrother, who we are now naming for the first time because he is being tried as an adult, Timothy Hudson, he was allegedly in the stateroom with Anna Kepner. Now, we have our hands on some new court filings, and they're raising a very interesting question now that these charges are public and we can see how serious they are. This is the official indictment, and Timothy Hudson has been charged with murder and aggravated sexual abuse. He was first indicted in February as a minor, and he's been living with a family member. But now, after these charges have been made public in adult court, you have to wonder how likely it is that he will spend time in jail as this case moves forward. I'm going to be talking to a former state attorney from Florida to help us answer that question here in just a moment. So I want to talk about how this case has been building for months, because we have been waiting for this day for a long time. You go back to November 7th, 2025, and that's when a Carnival cruise ship named the Horizon was headed back to port in Miami. And inside a stateroom on that ship, crew members found 18-year-old Anna Kepner dead. She didn't show up for breakfast that morning. Her family was concerned, and then crew members went in and they found her wrapped in a blanket, covered with life jackets, allegedly, and stuffed under the bed. Now, the medical examiner in Miami-Dade County later ruled her death mechanical asphyxiation. This was from an arm bar. She was strangled to death, according to her autopsy. Now, here's what we know about Anna Kepner and what led up to this story on November 7th aboard that cruise ship. She was from Titusville, Florida, about 3 hours north of Miami, where she was a cheerleader. She planned to join the Navy when she graduated high school. And she was on that cruise as a member of a blended family, people coming together, trying to start a new tradition. She was with her dad, her stepmom. And
so Cash, according to reports, Anna, so on November 6th, on the final night of the ship's last night at sea, Anna left for dinner early because she didn't feel well. Later that evening, 14-year-old half-brother left the room to take photos around the ship, leaving Anna and Timothy alone. And then on the morning of November 7th, 2025, Anna didn't show up for breakfast. And apparently her body was discovered by one of the, I don't know if it was a housekeeper. It says here, a cabin steward discovered her body stripped naked, wrapped in a blanket, shoved under her bed, and concealed with life jackets. The medical examiner later ruled her death a mechanical asphyxiation, indicating that she was strangled.
Her stepmom's 2 children, along with grandparents. Now, one of her stepmom's kids, a 16-year-old boy, Timothy Hudson. Now, here is what investigators have pointed to. Anna and Timothy were sharing the stateroom where she was allegedly found. And according to court records, surveillance video shows no one else going in or out that night other than Anna Kepner and Timothy Hudson. Now, for months, the FBI stayed quiet on this case, but in a very unique way, we learned about how the investigation was going because of an unrelated custody case that involved Anna Kepner's stepmom and her ex-husband, and it had to do with the custody of Timothy Hudson as well as his younger brother. And we also learned during that custody case that Timothy's mom allegedly admitted that she missed giving him insomnia medication 2 nights in a row on that cruise, including the night that Anna died. And you have to wonder, how is that going to play into a defense as this case now moves forward? Then you have February. And that's when, for the first time, we saw Timothy Hudson going into federal court. But at that point, we weren't really sure what the proceeding was about. Reporters asked him point blank as he came out of the courtroom whether or not he killed his stepsister, but he had no answer for that. His attorney didn't say anything, and they just quietly walked away with his head down and covered with a hat and a hood. But what happened inside the court on that day, it was unclear because the case was sealed as he was just charged as a minor at that point. And the question.
So earlier I was in a Jay's chat on Guilty of Crime, and we were talking about some of the medications that he was on because it was mentioned that his mother had missed giving him 2 doses. So 2 nights he missed his medications, and some of the medications that we learned he was on was methylphenidate, which is very similar to Ritalin. It's the what would you call it? It's the generic name for Ritalin, and most commonly known as Ritalin or Concerta. And then there was also another medication that medication he took for ADHD. And then there was a second medication, a medication known as clonidine, which is often given for people who have very high blood pressure. But for some reason, not for some reason, but in this instance for Timothy, he was given this medication for insomnia. And that was the medication that usually helped him go to sleep. And apparently he didn't receive that medication for 2 nights straight.
Question everybody's asking, would he be charged as a juvenile in this case, where he would be released at 21 years old if found guilty, or would this case go down in adult court? And now we have our answer today, and it came in that bombshell as we are seeing some newly unsealed court filings that are changing the picture of how this case potentially could play out. So according to a superseding indictment that was filed on March 10th in federal court in Miami, and it was just unsealed, a federal grand jury has formally charged Timothy Hudson with first-degree murder, alleging that Hudson, quote, did knowingly and unlawfully perpetrate and attempt to perpetrate a murder that is the willful, deliberate, and malicious and premeditated killing of AK, of course, initials for Anna Kepner, with malice aforethought, meaning he allegedly planned it, not just a split-second act.
I'm very curious how long he had planned this. Now, First Liberties podcast, I'm curious, what would constitute premeditation? How long does that have to be for something to be considered first degree?
Count 2 is aggravated sexual abuse. And I'll tell you, because as we've been following this story, there was reporting that was out there citing an autopsy that said that there was no sign of sexual trauma to Anna Kepner. But apparently, law enforcement believe
Guilty of Crime, you said clonidine is a blood pressure medication and they use it for my kids that have ADHD. It's a really light dose rather than using an upper like Ritalin. Makes sense. I'm very curious though, because normally, right, when we're in the hospital and we give our patients clonidine, and this is normally like an emergency medication, and if you know about blood pressure and whatnot, normally you have 2 numbers. You have your systolic number, which is the top number, and then your diastolic, which is the bottom number. And normally when that that number or the systolic goes high, normally like above 150, maybe 160, we give this emergency medication like clonidine, and basically it helps bring the blood pressure down fairly quickly. And that dose that we normally give a patient is very, very low dose. We normally give it at like a 0.1 milligram dose. So I'm very curious, Guilty of Crime, the dosage that they're receiving for ADHD treatment. So that's interesting. I've never heard of clonidine being used for ADHD. And then also it being used as a medication for insomnia. So
otherwise, because
it's crazy how some of these medications, you know, are given to help treat different things, right? Like, you know, that one blue pill that men normally take. What's that one blue pill called? I forget. I keep forgetting the name of this medication. But that medication was, you know, for a very long time was used to treat high blood pressure too, right? And then they noticed that there was other effects going on in men. And later on, it became the primary use for that became used for, you know, erectile dysfunction. You guys remember that blue pill?
Of this very serious charge, one that also carries the possibility of life in prison if found guilty. And I know we have a long way to go. In the indictment, it alleges that Hudson, quote, did knowingly cause AK to engage in a sexual act and did so by the use of force against AK. Under federal law, that carries some serious weight, and it is why prosecutors were able to seek adult charges. The max for both charges is life in prison if found guilty. But again, still a long way to go on that front. And I want to be very clear that these are just allegations at this point, and Timothy Hudson will be presumed innocent. But here is what makes this case legally significant. Hudson was 16 years old at the time all of this allegedly happened, and he is now being tried as an adult. Now, that decision became final on April 10th, just 3 days ago, when a federal judge ordered the case transferred to adult prosecution and unsealed the entire court record. And now we're learning just how much evidence the government has in this case. According to a discovery filing that was also unsealed today, federal prosecutors have turned over to the defense autopsy photographs and x-rays, the full medical examiner's report with notes, and an extraction of someone's cell phone, which is believed to be Anna's father, 4 body camera videos from Miami-Dade sheriff's deputies, and FBI timelines created by a special agent assigned to the case. And they also have FARO files, F-A-R-O. Those are 3D crime scene reconstruction technology images that show allegedly how Anna's body was found in that cabin. This is all significant when it comes to this case going forward. And it does suggest that the government is building a very detailed case. And now to understand the case fully, let's talk a little bit about this family and the dynamics at play, because it is somewhat complicated. You have Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, who married a woman named Chantel. And Chantel is Timothy Hudson's biological mom. So Anna and Timothy, they become step siblings through that marriage. Now, on that cruise, the family group included Anna's dad, her stepmom, Chantel, Anna's biological brother, and then Chantel's 2 children. You have Timothy, who's 16, and then he has a 14-year-old brother. Now, 3 teenagers in 1 stateroom and adults allegedly living across the hall for this cruise. And according to the testimony from this unrelated custody hearing, which we have been following, Chantel herself confirmed that Anna and Timothy shared that room together. She also testified that Timothy needed medication for ADHD and insomnia. There's a nighttime pill that he allegedly takes called clonidine, and he allegedly missed taking that medication not 1 night, but 2 nights on the cruise. And that includes the night that Anna Kepner died. Now, Chantel testified that she fell asleep before giving Timothy that pill. Now, as for the relationship between Anna Kepner and her stepbrother, there are some differing accounts. Anna's grandparents, who were on the cruise, they told ABC News that Anna and her stepbrother were, quote, 2 peas in a pod, real brother-sister bond. But then you have the dad of one of Anna's ex-boyfriends who told a very different story to Inside Edition. He said Timothy was, quote, obsessed with Anna. He also alleges that Timothy carried a knife and alleges that Timothy once got on top of Anna while she was sleeping, and Anna was so afraid of Timothy, the dad is saying that Anna would actually sleep at friends' houses to avoid him. Now, we don't know which version of that is true. We don't know which version investigators believe, but obviously we're seeing some very serious charges here, and it's clear the family dynamic is central to understanding what may have happened on that ship and in that stateroom. Now, that brings us back to the question that we're opening with here today, because now that Hudson is facing the possibility of life in prison, he's facing incredibly serious charges: premeditated first-degree murder and aggravated sexual abuse. Today, he is still out of custody, and many people are wondering why. So here's the key. Hudson was originally released under the Juvenile Delinquency Act. Different rules, different standards, but now he is an adult in the eyes of the court. And the government says those old rules, they no longer apply. And that answer just got more complicated because we've also obtained a new motion that was filed today by federal prosecutors asking the judge to revoke his release and to lock Timothy Hudson up in pretrial detention. Now, if the judge grants that motion, Hudson could be taken into custody within days. Now, Timothy Hudson, per court records, is currently out of custody, but that could be changing. Now, we have obtained this motion filed today, April 13th, by federal prosecutors, and they are asking the judge to revoke his release immediately. So here is their argument, according to the court filing. They say Hudson was originally released under the Juvenile Delinquency Act, which has different rules, but now that he's been formally transferred to adult prosecution, they argue that the Juvenile Act no longer applies. Instead, they say the Bail Reform Act is now in control. And under the Bail Reform Act, prosecutors write, quote, that Hudson is a danger to others and should be held in pretrial detention. And they go on to say there is no assurance any court could ever have that any conditions or combination of conditions would be sufficient to prevent the defendant from being a danger to others. So to understand where he is right now, court records show that Hudson has been living with his uncle in Central Florida. He's on GPS monitoring, and he's not allowed to be alone with anyone under the age of 18. And here's something else that we just learned from these filings today. Timothy's uncle needed to go on a church retreat with his own son. So the defense asked for a temporary modification, allowing Hudson to stay with his aunt and even go to work with his dad, who runs a landscaping company. Now, the government did not oppose the request. A judge granted it. That modification ran from April 8th through today, April 13th, which means today those special permissions expire. And he goes back to the original conditions. But you have to wonder, does that matter? Because the government is now asking for his release to be revoked entirely. The judge has not ruled on this motion yet, but the government is asking for a hearing to make their case, which brings us to our next question. And this is why we brought in our guest. What happened?
Just in case you know you're in the vertical live. If you don't like it, you can hop on over to my page and join the horizontal live. Just FYI. You guys, I even heard that reporters have even been seeing him drive around. He was riding in a buggy and riding a roadside firewood stand. What does it got to take to put this guy behind bars? Kid behind bars, right? Because he's only 16, but now he's going to be tried as an adult.
Now, does a judge actually revoke the release for this 16-year-old who is facing the possibility of life in federal prison? And how does this change the legal strategy for both sides? Joining us now from South Florida to talk a little bit about the developments in this case, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Dave Ehrenberg. Always great to have you here on Law and Crime. I know we've talked about this case before, as it just felt like week after week, waiting for this news, and here it comes today. What stands out to you with what it appears the federal government is charging 16-year-old Timothy Hudson with?
They need to. They need to lock him up.
I think it's a sexual assault. That's new information. We really weren't aware of the extent of this because the feds need a nexus to make it a federal crime. Now, I know it's on the high seas, but generally they don't just charge regular murder. There's a felony murder. It's got to take place in the context of another crime, and that's sexual assault. They also are charging premeditated murder.
Can't even find any photos of this guy. Jay, where'd you find your photos?
State crime, not a federal one. But I think for me, the biggest surprise is the allegation of the sexual assault. I think people assume because they had a sibling relationship that was unlikely. But remember, it's a stepsister. And there have been some allegations that we knew of about the stepbrother. And the allegations.
There you are, Jeff. Welcome. And this is a photo of Timothy Hudson. For any of you guys that haven't seen a photo of him, right? And now because he is being tried as an adult, they're just, coming out with his name. They're exposing this guy, and he is not safe anymore. So this is going to be interesting, you guys. Please do, Jay. Love it. Let me share this.
For adult charges, it's because the adult system is better equipped to handle an alleged very violent crime like this. Because if you are charged as a juvenile, the juvenile system generally only has jurisdiction up to age 21. So you're talking about someone who could be found guilty and then set free at the age of 21. And that's why it's not fully equipped to handle something like this. The adult system has more flexibility where they could give someone punishment and rehabilitation. They could blend a sentence. They could have him serve some of the time in the juvenile facility, then transfer to an adult facility. But if you try him only in the juvenile court, then you are limiting your jurisdiction and pretty much assuring that justice will not be done because he'll get to walk free at a very young age.
Well, and you know, one other part of this too is like he's been free since all of this happened. You know, back back in November, Anna Kepner's body comes off the ship. I believe November 6th is the date that they say that she was killed. And he has not been in custody since. You know, we saw him in court in Miami in February, I think it was, and that's when he was indicted on this as a juvenile. He has been living with a relative as all of this has played out. And then now he's tried as an adult. And I know the DOJ filed a motion to have him held in pretrial detention. How likely is it? Because these are two very serious charges that he's facing, that even as a 16-year-old, he would be held in pretrial detention as this case now goes through the adult court system.
Right. Well, it's up to the judge. And because the charges now are so serious that it's unlikely he'll be set free to go live with his parents. I mean, when you're facing first-degree murder charges, you're not going to get out pretrial. Now, the general rule is that there is a bias towards pretrial release. But if someone presents a flight risk, or if someone presents a risk to the community, and if you're charged with sexual assault and murder, then that pretty much shows you're a threat to the community. You're not going to be released pre-trial. So even though his age is that of a juvenile, here he's going to be treated in adult court like an adult.
A big difference, as you know well, between the federal court system and then if this case was tried in Florida and in say Miami-Dade County, cameras, you know, access to the courtroom and all of that. What are some of the other differences as this now goes through the adult court system that we could see compared to it being held in a district court?
Do you mean compared to a state court or compared to a juvenile court?
If he was tried, say, by the state attorney of Miami-Dade County, how that would play out compared to how this is going to go now that he's in I believe the Southern District of Florida court.
Right.
If you're tried in juvenile court, the hearings are kept secret and the focus is on rehabilitation, not punishment. But now in adult court, the focus is on punishment. And things are in the public. I mean, the public will get access to documents and will know more about this individual than if he was in juvenile court. But the difference here is that since he's being tried in federal court as opposed to state court, there will be no cameras in the courtroom. That is an advantage, I think, for the defense here. I think the federal courts should get with the program and allow cameras in the courtroom. We want more transparency, not less, especially during this time with so much misinformation and conspiracy theories. But because he will be tried as an adult, the public will have more access to the information than if he was tried as a juvenile. But because he's in federal court, not state court, there will not be cameras in the courtroom.
And when it comes to his potential defense and some of the reporting that was out there, one was that he had told, I believe his grandparents in an interview said this, that he just doesn't remember anything that happened, that he blacked out. We know that there was an issue potentially with some.
Put a 1 in the chat if you really think that this kid blacked out and doesn't remember anything. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that he knows exactly what is going on.
Insomnia medication that he had, and we know that through some of the custody proceedings that had played out involving his mom and dad. But as far as the argument of I blacked out, when it seems that prosecutors have him going into the room where Anna Kepner was later found dead, and some of the forensic evidence, which we don't know of as of yet, especially related to the alleged sexual abuse, how could that defense come into play, for whatever attorney is representing him?
Yeah, the defense is going to point to personal circumstances, medication that wasn't given, but the law looks at the totality of the evidence. So we have a 7-day trial here, probably, that's where the prosecution is going to present thousands of pages of evidence. They've downloaded cell phones. They're going to have witness testimony, and they're going to show not only is there evidence that he had premeditation, but they're also going to show his actions afterwards, where he tried to cover up his tracks. He tried to hide the body. Things like that show that this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't because the meds went awry. This was because he planned it and then tried to hide it afterwards. So it's going to be tough for him to avoid it. And even if he can convince a jury that there was not premeditation here, he's being tried for felony murder as well. And felony murder means you committed a murder while you're committing another felony, and that would be the sexual assault.
Yeah,
so
just working
you
on
don't necessarily need premeditation here to get this guy a life
He
sentence.
definitely knew, right?
Because I know that there was reporting that he had gone to the hospital after, and this was from his grandparents gave an interview, I think it was to ABC News, and then a lot of information about how the investigation was going from what they knew was out in the public. Went to the hospital, he was evaluated, and then we heard that his mom had admitted to allegedly not giving a insomnia medication that he was taking the night that all of this took place. The fact that he's still facing these charges, what does that tell you about the work that investigators did along the way and kind of looking into his mental health, looking into whether he's diagnosed with anything? And here we are, he's still facing an incredibly serious crime for what he allegedly did in that stateroom.
I think the cell phone would have been important. They extracted cell phone data from this individual and from others to get a full picture of what was going on. And I think that digital evidence may have provided some evidence that there was planning, there was intent. The search histories matter. What is he searching for beforehand? Who is he talking to? What did he say afterwards? There are a lot of things that they're going to examine to show cool reflection as opposed to just a reaction to not getting medication. And so I think it's going to be very hard for him to avoid an insanity defense, to have an insanity defense, or to have a defense that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't plan it, didn't think about it. It was a reaction. It's like a monster got inside me. I think this is going to be difficult because once you start covering up your crimes, then it doesn't look like it was so spontaneous. Once you start covering up your tracks, then it looks like this was planned.
Yeah. As the defense attorney on this case, how much of a surprise do you think today is based off the fact?
No, David is guilty. The insomnia medications that he missed was a medication that is not often given for insomnia. It's called clonidine. Normally, it's given as a blood pressure medication. And Guilty of Crime in our chat had mentioned that it can also be given as an ADHD medication. So, in some effect, he was given 2 ADHD medications: the methylphenidate, which is a Concerta, and the other medication, clonidine. So that's crazy in itself.
That he was indicted back in February on a murder charge. You knew all of this at this point. I mean, what was, if you could take us inside what it's like for a defendant at this point and his team, especially after February, where those are the charges that he's going to be facing. At that point, it was in juvenile court.
Well, I think what's surprising is that the sexual assault is in there. That was something that I think all of us were unsure of because we knew there was a murder that took place. So I can see the murder charge, but then the sexual assault, that's something new. But as far as the criminal defense lawyers, I would bet they were aware of this in advance. They're generally not blindsided. They know based on where the case is going, based on where the subpoenas are, based on the length of time it takes to investigate, and based on leaks from the U.S. Attorney's Office, that they were prepared for this. I'll bet you they told their client that you're going to be charged with murder and possibly even sexual assault, because they know what happened. They talked to the client, and that this will not be in juvenile court. So I don't think the defense lawyers here were blindsided. Perhaps the family was blindsided because they appear to still be living in a bubble, saying how wonderful the relationship was between the step siblings. Right. When in reality, it looks like it was far different.
Yeah, I remember the line from, I think it was the grandmother said they were 2 peas in a pod, and you look at the allegations now, it's hard to believe that. Of course, the way that people appear to members of their family and to reality sometimes can be really different. If he is found, well, before I get to what a potential punishment could look like, I just think of, for the prosecutors, like, you have video of him, she goes into the room, he goes into the room, she's found the next morning under the bed in this stateroom, and he leaves the room. Like, it seems like in some ways you could look on the outside and say it was a pretty open and shut case. Like, how confident are prosecutors at this point? I know no case is ever 100% sure, but it seems like a pretty straightforward narrative that they could put out there of what happened inside that room.
Yeah. Well, he was the last one to see her alive. He was the last one with her. And you're on a cruise ship. It's not like you're out in the wilderness. There are cameras everywhere. There are access cards to know who swiped what and when. And so it's hard to get away with a crime like this on a cruise ship. And when they asked him about his actions the night before, when they questioned him, he said he didn't remember. It's not exactly what you'd say if you're professing your innocence. And so I think that they've got this guy dead to rights. The big question was whether he'd be able to use an excuse of medication and his age, because he's a juvenile, to his benefit, but apparently not.
No. And now, like, I mean, if he were to be found guilty of these charges, and we'll see how things play out, life imprisonment is the maximum penalty on both of the counts that he's facing. But even still, 16, 17 years old, going off to federal prison, like, what does life look like for someone that young being found guilty of charges so serious?
Well, the law allows for a life sentence for a juvenile, not the death penalty, but you still have to jump through extra hoops. It's not so easy to get life in prison. You have to go through the juvenile's special circumstances and then find that life is appropriate. And also then there is a chance that that individual could get released at some point because they have the opportunity for a review later on. So it's not life without parole, but it is life in prison. And he's not going to get out even under the best circumstances for him. If he's found guilty and gets a life sentence, he's not going to get out for decades. And that's much better than the juvenile system, because had he been found guilty in the juvenile system, he would likely be out by the time he's 21.
And what do you make of the timeline? I know in the federal system, things move really slowly. Anna Kepner died, according to authorities, November 6th. Here we are mid-April when he's now facing charges as an adult. What do you make of that timeline to get
Sorry,
to
guys,
point?
I just had to put up a
Prosecutors
thumbnail
have
real quick.
one shot at it because there's a speedy trial clock that runs once you charge someone. So if you charge someone too soon and you're not ready, the defense can invoke the speedy trial rule, and then you're forced to go to trial without your ducks in a row. They didn't want that to happen. You're talking about a murder case here. And so it's better to slow it down and delay it at the front end than to allow them to go free forever at the back end.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, a major development today. Dave Ehrenberg, always great to have you here on Law and Crime. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and we're also streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.
Not really quick, because I think... Did Nancy Grace do one? One second, you guys.
Indictment tonight. The so-called cruise ship girl, Anna Kepner, a little teen girl found stuffed under the bed on a Carnival cruise ship. Tonight, an indictment goes down as we learn, according to court documents. This teen girl, brutally sex assaulted before she is strangled dead. At the same time, the alleged killer, her own stepbrother, is unmasked. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. That little girl stuffed under a cruise ship bed, wrapped in a blanket, mummy style, with life vest stuffed over her. She, quote, fought for her life.
Oh, my bad. Was she too loud?
Tonight, we learn about an indictment on Anna Kepner's teen stepbrother. He's been protected by his family from the...
This one, Obsidian, yeah, when this photo came out, I was like, damn, this kid looks really, really young, right? And you know, it's crazy when I look at this, I can just picture the type of anger that he would be in if a kid like him just didn't get his way, right? If you were to tell him no and he were to throw a little hissy fit, I can just see, you know, the type of face and the type of anger that he could, I don't know. TMZ has a pic of the both of them. Ooh, let me find it. Let me see. Let me play this. We'll find it. Ooh, clavicular hospitalized after suspected overdose. Oh, that kid is poor kid. He's only 20 years old. And you guys know clavicular, the guy who ran over a person with his Cybertruck. Apparently, he overdosed and is now in the hospital. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. We go ahead and pull those up. Oh, hold on. Here you go. Here's this one right over here. And shout out to Jay from Guilty of Crime for sending us those photos. This is crazy. Look at that. This guy was so much. Is he that much taller than her? This is crazy. Look how big he is.
Shielded from public view. All of the court proceedings were held in secret. This
First Liberties, can you hear it now? Type a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear it.
This is the step brother. Straight out to Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My.
It's crazy though, because in that photo, they I mean, you know, they're only a 2-year age difference, but they look the same age. I mean, she kind of looks a little younger than him because of how much bigger than he is.
To Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star.
Don't they? They do. They definitely do for these. Does audio keep going out? Hold on. Maybe I need to turn it up a little bit. Hold on. Let me know. Let me know. All right, hold on, hold on. Can you guys hear me now? Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, yo, hey, yo. Y'all can hear me? Oh, StreamYard sucks, to be honest with you. I'm almost done with StreamYard. I'm about to cancel this. If Strategic canceled, I'm canceling. So Obsidian, do you know? Tell Strategic I'm canceling. I'm boycotting. All right, cool. Hold on.
Nancy. What they're saying is the level of brutality here includes she has got a mark on her neck that appears to be associated with what they're referring to as an arm bar, which means the blade of the arm is being pressed down over the anterior neck. She couldn't breathe.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I got this completely wrong, right? Yeah, right, Jay? StreamYard is getting no upgrade. Don't cancel yet. No. Okay, so I've had for the longest time, and I don't know why I had this confused. I thought it was a choke hold, but now okay. Now that he painted this picture, he was literally in front of her or on top of her, literally putting either his elbow or his forearm directly onto her throat. This guy is crazy. This guy's got some major issues.
And here's the thing, Nancy. Not only that, they're saying that she sustained she sustained trauma to her area that is associated with an antemortem or prior to death event. This goes to the aggravated nature of this. So she's been greatly traumatized. She was essentially deprived of oxygen and then wrapped up and tossed under this bed, Nancy.
Joining us, a veteran trial lawyer, defense.
Redondo Beach, I think they clarified the mechanical portion part of it was that he utilized his hands and he didn't use any objects to strangle her, right? So I think that's what it means by mechanical asphyxiation. Like she didn't like hang herself. She wasn't, you know, killed by some sort of rope. I think she basically was just the armbar.
Attorney Greg Morse.
So Timothy, the suspect, is 16 years old, and Anna Kepner was 18. So 2-year difference, and no blood relationship. They are step siblings.
He is the author of a legal thriller, Untested. He is the founder of Morse Legal in Palm Beach. Greg, according to the federal government, I mean, I don't know what it does to a person when they see the United States of America versus you. But according to the federal government, and remember, I was a Fed for 3 years before I became a felony prosecutor of violent crime. They're saying that this teen girl, Anna Kepner, you know, the little girl that was a cheerleader at the little Titusville Christian school, that girl that was so excited about the cruise with her grandparents. She got some new outfits and had her nails done, got all ready to go on the cruise with the grandparents. That little girl, the one that wanted to join the Navy.
Hold on really quick. Let me just show you guys a few photos because this is going to kind of paint a clearer picture for all of us to kind of understand what type of mechanical chokehold or mechanical armbar was placed. So normally when you put somebody in a chokehold, this is what a chokehold normally would look like, right? So if you're choking somebody out, this is what the chokehold would look like, right? You're behind the person and then you have your arm under their chin and you're basically cutting off their ability to breathe, right? So this would be, I mean, I guess in MMA, what you would consider like a chokehold, right? But what they're explaining is that he had an arm bar on her throat, and that would look like this. I don't know if you guys can see this. Now, if it's exactly the same way that he was explaining it a few seconds ago, that's what I would interpret as. Let me see. Let's see. Where does he say it?
She sustained trauma to her area that is associated with an antemortem or prior to death event. This goes to the aggravated nature of this. So she's been greatly traumatized. She was essentially deprived of oxygen and then wrapped up and tossed under this bed, Nancy.
Joining us, a veteran trial lawyer.
Includes, she has got a mark.
Sorry about that. Here's the part where he explains it.
On her neck that appears to be associated with what they're referring to as an arm bar, which means the blade of the arm is being pressed down over the anterior neck. She couldn't breathe. And here's the thing, Nancy, not only that, they're saying that she sustained trauma.
Abraham and Cindy, you guys aren't down.
To her area that is associated with an antemortem or prior to death event. This goes to the aggravated nature of this. So she's been greatly traumatized. She was essentially
Greg Morse. He is the author of a legal thriller, Untested. He is the founder of Morse Legal in Palm Beach. Greg, According to the federal government, I mean, I don't know what it does to a person when they see the United States of America versus you. But according to the federal government, and remember, I was a Fed for 3 years before I became a felony prosecutor of violent crime. They're saying that this teen girl, Anna Kepner, you know, the little girl that was a cheerleader at the little Titusville Christian school, that girl that was so excited about the cruise with her grandparents. She got some new outfits and had her nails done, got all ready to go on the cruise with the grandparents. That little girl, the one that wanted to join the Navy and then go into law enforcement and canine handling, her, they are saying that the last thing she saw about that far away from her face is her own stepbrother breathing into her face as he strangled her dead after a. What's your defense?
Well, given the age, you're going to look to incompetency, insanity at first. You also, I don't know the full import of what the feds have. The feds do a great job at investigating their cases. So I'm sure they did a great job in this case, but there's a lot of other people on the boat.
Did you say insanity? I just want to make sure there's nothing wrong with my IFB. Did you say insanity?
You're going to look at, sure, this is a young man who's just started adolescence. So this is a young man who just started adolescence. So you have those issues there. So? Young people I've represented plenty, and they don't understand the system. They don't understand the nature
none of that is insanity.
What's going on.
He's a teenager, so he's legally insane.
No, not because he's a teenager. You said what defenses would you look at? I would absolutely look at competency and insanity, both. Yeah, absolutely. I would take a look to say. I did. I said insanity and competence. They're two different things, but you would look at them both for someone this age and doing this. I don't know if DNA's matched yet to this person, but that's an issue also. There's a lot of people on the boat.
You really letting this guy have it, huh? But you know, Nancy, she just loves to bring out people that she can just chew out.
So you have to look at those things as a lawyer and turn every stone over.
Excuse me.
Put him up.
Sure.
Greg Morse, isn't it true that the judge is going to instruct the jury if and when this goes to trial? This is after closing argument. So this is the last thing the jury will hear before they begin deliberations. The judge will instruct them on the law they must follow as they apply the law to the facts of the case. Credibility, the facts, and the law is within the sole province of the jury. And the judge will tell them, the black and white letter of the law is they can consider facts before, during, and after the incident. Isn't that true?
Sure.
You said it, Abraham. We're going to have to do it.
That's correct. But you also have the issue here with young people and social media.
A bed. Can we see the cabin? The fact that her body was hidden, stuffed under a bed, nude, wrapped up like a mummy in a blanket, and then concealed by life vests, stuffed under one of those beds.
Look at this bed, you guys. Look how small this bed is. These are what, maybe twin beds, and then she was undressed, stuffed under this bed, covered with life jackets and wrapped in a blanket. Damn, to put this room into perspective is crazy.
And then, according to reports, the teen stepbrother goes along with the parents. They belly up to the breakfast buffet.
That is a small room too. I've never been on a cruise, or at least I don't remember ever going on one. But damn, I thought this must be like one of those really, really smaller cabins. This is crazy.
Up to the trough. She's missing, and he acts perfectly normal. So don't you think hiding a body, Greg, would suggest that he knew it was wrong? I mean, Greg, it goes all the way back to Genesis. You are familiar with the Bible, I assume.
I am.
Because
it's a factor,
in Genesis, Adam and Eve know they've done something wrong, and they try to hide. Spoiler,
listen, you can't
compartmentalize
information. And what we just saw with what was it, a category finding social media companies responsible for mental illness in young people, that's something that is maybe come into play here. It may be an issue investigating this young man's history, and he was living in a delusional world if he did this.
Right, Obsidian, right? So 2 boys and a girl were supposed to stay in that room. Where was the other person, the other sibling, supposed to sleep? They just had blankets that they were just going to lay on the floor. Were they supposed to share a bed? And if they were, who were the 2 that were going to sleep together? This is crazy.
So there are those factors that you're going to look at first when you have a 16-year-old defendant who is accused of an unspeakable act of violence. And that's the avenue to go down, because with the feds...
Wait, Mama Flo said I did go on a cruise and the room was smaller than that. What the hell? That's crazy.
Involved, they're going to have evidence locked tight. They're going to dot their I's and cross.
Abraham, you too. You said this photo is actually on the larger side. I could have sworn watching videos on like YouTube. Are these like suites that some of these YouTubers are paying for when they stream themselves going on these cruises? That's crazy. Y'all people got money.
Their T's. They're very good at what they do. So that seems like an avenue when you have a young person to look into. And that's an important ruling that happened in California with social media companies being responsible for a young person's...
I need to go take myself out on a cruise then, and maybe not. Hell no. I'm kidding. I'm not going on a cruise. My audio's off. Are you serious? You guys can't hear me? Let me know. StreamYard really sucks today.
Okay. Mental health issues because of the algorithms. So all those factors could come into play in a defense here or resolving the case in a somewhat reasonable way. But what's reasonable when you face life, right? So that's a tough one, but it doesn't...
Yeah, y'all privileged people going on cruises. How old was I, Mom, when we went on this cruise? Like 4 or 5? Because I definitely do not remember. But you know what? At our grandma's house, I do remember seeing photos, but I don't remember the cruise at all.
Greg Morse,
doesn't mean you don't have a defense.
Please do not mislead the listeners and viewers, because the California case, what do you look around you at the panel? Do any of us look like we just fell off the turnip truck? The case you're referring to in California had nothing to do with an intentional homicide, did it?
No, it didn't, but it had to do with...
Then it has no bearing on this case. It has nothing to do with this case. It's not remotely similar.
But it does on the defendant. Yes, it does. It does on the defendant when we're talking about competence and insanity. What's affecting that young person's brain? What world are they living in when they did this? Do they believe what they're doing is in their reality because they've been so brainwashed by the algorithm and going down this rabbit hole of social media? You know, I think before that verdict came back, most people would say there's no way social media is going to be responsible for someone looking on apps and looking at things. But you know what? A jury found they were, that their product is
in a completely different type of case. It had nothing to do with a homicide, much less. Okay, you're going to just have to cut his mic. I don't know what else to do with him.
Ooh, damn. Okay. Shots fired. Damn, that's crazy. You know what? Just for that, I'm going to give Nancy one of these. Damn, she told him. Turn off his mic. Let me hear that again.
Different type of case. It had nothing to do with a homicide, much less. Okay, you're going to just have to cut his mic. I don't know what else to do with him. That was not a murder case.
Obsidian, when she said that, or when they said algorithm and social media, I was like, what? What?
It was not a case. It was a civil case against social media. And again, you are ignoring the fact that he hid the evidence of his crime. That suggests that he knew what he did was wrong. And also, isn't it true, Sidney Silvani, that he kicked the little brother out of the room and locked the door?
David is guilty. That video was crazy. I was watching that in real time. And I do have to say, that conversation got really, really intense. If you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if it's still up.
right? So that indicates he knew he was about to do something horrible. He didn't want the little stepbrother to know what was happening.
Right. And the little brother heard fighting, heard screaming, heard furniture being overturned in the room that night. So we know that whatever happened, it was very violent.
Sydney Silvani, explain to me, do I have this right? That the parents, and that would be Anna Kepner's biological father and her stepmother, were right across the hall from her when all of this was happening, and they did not see her from the time she left dinner on the cruise ship with them around 7 p.m. the night before. Now, all the way around 7 a.m., that's 12 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11. All that time, they didn't check on her.
So here, let me share this with you guys really quick, because this is apparently what it was supposed to look like. So apparently they were literally across the cabins from each other. So that's crazy, though. They're literally right next to each other. That, I don't know.
Including adults with open bars. They didn't check on her?
That's exactly correct. Anna goes home, goes back to her cabin early from dinner, and nobody starts questioning where she is until breakfast the next morning. And she is finally located by a housekeeper at 11 a.m. the next day.
Another thing I don't understand with that timeline, Sydney Silvani.
I mean, I like, what was the conversation between the family, right? For them to not notice until 11 a.m., right? She misses breakfast. Like, I would be under the impression, right? Like, if I were to bring my family on a cruise, I would make sure that no matter where the fuck we went, I would know every single move, right? Because these damn cruise ships are just as big as like cities, right? And they have what, 7, 8 floors on them. Like, there ain't no way I'm gonna let my child get lost on a goddamn cruise, right? Let alone miss breakfast. Nope, no. I'm gonna make sure that we go as a family to eat together.
Is that they all had breakfast at the big buffet, and the little brother had to be there.
M. DeBose, you made it. Oh, you didn't get a notification though. And I did see your comment. I know you recently said in the comments you were asking about a live, but we haven't been able to put one together. So this one was just a spontaneous one. So we're glad that you're able to catch one.
Did he not mention this?
Anna's brother heard a heated argument between them in their cabin the night before Anna was found dead.
Anna's had to be there. Did he not mention this?
Anna's brother heard a heated argument between them in their cabin the night before Anna was found dead. He heard the stepbrother yelling at Anna, the sounds of furniture overturning, and screams from inside their room.
You heard him yelling at her, like, in a harmful way of, like, shut the hell up and stuff like that. Like, something was, like, banging around and stuff, and, like, the chairs were getting thrown around in the room.
That's Anna Kepner's little boyfriend speaking to our friends at Inside Edition. So, Greg Morse, let me understand. While Anna's little brother is describing hearing a heated argument with furniture being thrown around and the teen stepbrother screaming, "Shut the hell up," you're telling me it's because of social media? And he didn't know what he was doing when he locked the little brother out of the room and started throwing furniture and screaming and cursing at Anna?
Well, what strikes me as even odder is, why wasn't that told to anybody right away? Why didn't the parents go in there? But at the end of the day, you're talking about a case that is serious, has a lot of violence. There seems to be a lot of organic evidence that may be in the room, whether it be DNA.
Yeah, Obsidian, that the little gentleman that you just saw earlier was the current boyfriend, right? Or ex. I thought it was. Damn, hold on. I don't know if that's the ex-boyfriend or the boyfriend. I think it was the boyfriend.
Furniture being thrown around and the teen stepbrother screaming.
Let's go back a bit.
This?
Anna's brother heard a heated argument between them in their cabin the night before Anna was found dead. He heard the stepbrother yelling at Anna, the sounds of furniture overturning, and screams from inside their room.
You heard him yelling at her, like in a harmful way, of like, shut the hell up and stuff like that. Like something was like banging around and stuff, and like the chairs were getting thrown around in the room.
That's Anna Kepner's little boyfriend speaking to our friends at Inside Edition.
Okay, so she says little boyfriend. Doesn't say ex. So now I'm curious.
So Greg Morse, let me understand, while Anna's little brother is describing hearing a heated argument with furniture being thrown around and the teen stepbrother screaming, shut the hell up. You're telling me it's because of social media and he didn't know what he was doing when he locked the little brother out of the room and started throwing furniture and screaming and cursing at Anna?
Well, what strikes me as even odder is why wasn't that told to anybody right away? Why didn't the parents go in there? But at the end of the day, you're talking about a case that is serious, has a lot of violence. There seems to be a lot of organic evidence that may be in the room, whether it be DNA.
Wait, did they, sorry about that. Did they clarify where the brother was? Like, what? I know they kicked him out of the room, but did he end up going to the parents' house? Because if I'm not mistaken, the parents' room was just literally across the hall. And so you're right? If the little brother heard it, nobody else heard it? The family, the parents didn't hear it?
And a defense for a young person potentially is, young people.
So, okay, so I was looking this up, right? And I was reading that the grandparents' cabin was 2 stories up. So let me see. Hold on. Let me just see this really quick. Gotta look at my little Google Doc. Okay, so here, let me share this really quick. Oops. This one right here, right? So they were in room 8367. Anna, Timothy, 14-year-old left the room late to take photos of the ship. He returned to sleep, unaware Anna was already deceased under the bed. Christopher Chantel. So it says right here, 2 floors up was a grandparent's cabin, right? So that doesn't make sense though. So if you went up to the grandparents, depending on the time, the grandparents were probably asleep and maybe can't hear that well. Interesting.
Break from reality. Young people are more prone to having issues and acting in a way that's, they believe it's right, they believe it's real, and it's not. They're insane. So that's what I would look at here right now from what I know. What else are you going to look at?
Okay, Greg Morse, I've just got to say that I respect you deeply because I throw the law at you. I throw facts at you. And you're kind of like Superman, it just bounces off and you just keep flying, it's like you can't hear what I'm saying, but you know what? You win a lot of cases. Now I see why. Joining us, 2 additional incredible guests. Number 1, Spencer Ehrenfield is joining us, the cruise ship lawyer, and Dr. Cheryl Errett. Dr. Cheryl, clinical forensic psychologist, specializing in trauma cases, and you can find her at askdrcheryl.com. Dr. Cheryl, I need you to hear this. Speaking of, see no evil, hear no.
Okay, so according to the testimony that Chantel Hudson provided, she stated that the stateroom of the grandparents, the stateroom was located 2 floors above the cabins where the parents and the teenagers were staying. Yeah.
No evil, speak no evil. Listen to this. You heard Greg Moore saying, why wasn't this told to the parents, to the bio dad and the stepmom? I mean, they all had breakfast together.
That's right. Yeah. Apparently the little brother came back to sleep in the room. It was the younger brother, right? It wasn't Timothy. Yeah, he went to sleep not knowing that she was dead under that bed.
Together minus Anna. Nobody said, where's Anna? If I were on a cruise ship and my daughter didn't show up, HELLNO, nobody's having pancakes. Nobody's having the fruit. Forget it. We're finding Lucy then. That said, listen to this.
She just didn't feel safe around him. She's scared to tell anybody because she was scared that he would do something to her.
Joshua, too, says Anna's close relationship with her stepbrother was one-sided. The 16-year-old is obsessed with Anna and made her uncomfortable with romantic advances. He once even caught him trying to climb into Anna's bed while the two were on FaceTime, Anna already asleep.
Wild.
American homeowners, the FBI.
That kid ain't got no shame, right? Climbing into her bed, trying to pose sexual advances to her while she's on FaceTime. I'm very curious if Anna has ever mentioned this to her parents before in the past, and if she ever did, the parents' response.
That this was happening, and they didn't want
Nancy, or just use the link below, and good luck.
He says that I tried to tell the parents that this was happening, and they didn't want to believe me. He's like infatuated, attracted to her like crazy. He's always wanted to date her.
Chris doesn't realize it's his fault. This whole thing is his fault. If he would have taken the warnings that Anna's ex-boyfriend gave him, then she would still be here. So keep that in mind, Christopher. I blame you.
That from our friends at Inside Edition and Just Mom 1984 on TikTok. Dr. Cheryl, I mean, I'm so mad I could shoot a nail in half right now. According to the little boyfriend and his father, they warned Anna's family that this stepbrother had tried to Anna at least once before. And you and I know all the stats. A sex offender will not stop. There's no rehab for a sex offender. So how many times did he or try to Anna? And she was afraid. And now she's dead. And we're so many people are worried about, oh, why are you showing his face? He's a juvenile. She is stiff like cement, dead in a coffin. And they were warned, but yet she was put in a room with the stepbrother. Help me.
This is the tragedy here. And this is the thing. Sibling abuse is incredibly common, but families very often minimize and deny and don't hear it. Just like you're saying, see no evil, hear no evil.
Okay, this I don't know for sure, but if I'm not mistaken, so I read your comment for Celebrities Podcast. If Nancy had an ex-husband, he ain't happy. Is it true that Nancy Grace had a fiance that was shot and killed when he was 23? Is that true? I need to look this up, but I keep hearing this brought up in other people who do lives. They mentioned that her fiance was shot and killed.
Well, this was wishful thinking, I'm imagining, on the part of this family, that they could all have this lovely cruise. But this was a creepy, predatory step sibling. And actually, the risk of abuse and violence and even killing does go up when siblings are not blood related to each other and when there is minimization of the abuse. She did not feel safe with him, and they put her in the same cabin, in the same room, and made her stay there with him.
I'd be scared too if somebody told me that they'd so mad they could bite a nail in half.
She was completely unprotected. And as you know, we've talked about how strangulation is one of the biggest, most violent power and control moves that is highly lethal and highly predictive of repeat offending. And while, yes, this is a 16-year-old whose brain isn't fully formed, he is a tremendous danger. And where were these parents protecting the daughter from her step-siblings?
You know what you just did, Dr. Cheryl? You just threw Greg Morse some chum when you said brain not formed. Now he's going to go off that this defendant's brain wasn't formed. That said, I think it's Dr. Cheryl.
Okay, so I had to look it up. 1979, Nancy Grace's fiance, 23-year-old Keith Griffin, was murdered in Georgia by a disgruntled former co-worker, Tommy McCoy, who shot him multiple times. The tragedy prompted Grace to abandon her Shakespearean studies. Interesting. To study to become a prosecutor and victims' rights advocate. McCoy was convicted in 1980 and paroled in 2006. Wow. You learn something new every day. Wow.
Cheryl, I don't know if I'm capsulizing this correctly, but families want that Hallmark picture. They don't want problems. They don't want people to know they have problems. They certainly don't want anyone to know that their big hulking stepson is trying to see Anna Kepner, their daughter. They just like, no, that's not happening. That can't happen. We'll talk to him. Well, obviously that didn't work. Hold on, guys. I'm hearing in my ear. I'll circle back to Greg Moore so he can go off on brain not formed. Spencer Ehrenfeld is joining us, veteran trial lawyer, founder of Ehrenfeld Trial Lawyers. He's author of an illustrated book, Sarah Rose, Kid Lawyer, in all of his spare time. But for my purposes, he's known as the cruise line lawyer. Okay, Spencer, I'm sure somewhere along the way, somebody's going to try to sue Carnival Cruise Line. That's your specialty.
Abraham, you know what? I mean, I have to agree with you, right? And I say that because, you know, I never got involved with the law. I was never, you know, I never had any crazy behaviors, but I was involved in a drive-by shooting where my life was almost taken. On a Monday night, which was raining, and all I could remember is just feeling, you know, hate and anger in my heart and wanting to go back out and getting revenge, right? But I totally was able to understand, you know, the difference between right and wrong. I don't know, the whole fully developed brain, I don't know, doesn't sit well with me. I don't know if I can agree with that 100%. So it's crazy.
Go after the cruise ships.
The cruise line may never have known the intricacies of that relationship, but cruise lines like Carnival have an absolute duty to provide reasonable security and safety for their passengers. So if there was any indication in the public spaces that there was something inappropriate happening between these two, or that either one of them had consumed alcohol or an excessive amount of alcohol, or if there were loud noises coming from that cabin, a fight, things being thrown around that would have and should have triggered Carnival security, that something inappropriate is going down in that cabin, then Carnival would have civil exposure in this case for failing to provide reasonable security to poor Anna. So they don't need to know the intricacies of the incestuous relationship or what the parents know. It's more important, what did Carnival know, or what should they have known given what was happening outside of that cabin?
Spencer, it's very critical. It would be, if I were prosecuting this case, that all of the video surveillance and all of the, you know, a lot of times when we would go on Disney cruises, we'd all have a wristband and not just one of the rubber ones, but it was more like a watch. And you'd just tap in before you would have dinner or before you would go to an event or whatever you were doing.
Those are the bougie cruises, Nancy. Most of us can't afford those kind of cruises.
Those are really full of information about who was where and when. You're saying, did they drink? I don't know if they drank. There are allegations that the teens were served alcohol. We'll find out. But before you can get food or alcohol or a snow.
You know, that also makes me wonder too, right? If they were in international waters and the legal age limit was whatever it was, and he was drinking. My question is was he drinking prior to this cruise ship, right? Because just because it's legal on a cruise, you know, most parents wouldn't just say, okay, because it's legal, you can drink here, right? I would assume, I'm not a parent, but I would assume that most parents would be like, you're not 21 and you're not drinking. I don't care. So it makes me wonder if, you know, maybe he was drinking before this cruise, or does he have a history of consuming alcohol?
You tap your watch. So long story short, we're going to find that out, but do they keep all that information? Do they keep all the video? And if so, for how long? Or is it reused and recycled where we'll never see who went in that room and who came out? Because Anna Kepner went in and didn't walk out.
I just got a verdict on Friday night in federal court in Miami against Carnival. And one of the main features of that case was missing surveillance video. Carnival has an obligation under the law to preserve surveillance video whenever there's a suggestion that a crime may have taken place. Under the Cruise Vessel Safety and Security Act, they must keep the video. In the case that I just won, a $300,000 verdict, they did not keep the video. What happens is, if they don't save it, Carnival knows it gets written over and deleted permanently. So they have 30 days from the date of this incident to preserve it. And if they didn't, for whatever reason,
legal drinking is 18 where you're at. That's crazy. They just upped the laws to purchase cigarettes. I think maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. So now, like, it used to be 18 where you had to be 18 to purchase lottery tickets and cigarettes, but now they all increased the age to 21. So you can't buy vapes, you can't buy cigarettes, lottery tickets unless you're 21. So that's crazy. 18.
Reason, it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, Nancy, having sued Carnival dozens of times over the last 35 years, that they didn't. But I sure hope, for the sake of this family, that Carnival did the right thing and the legal requirement of preserving all the surveillance video from the moment Anna got on that ship until her poor body was taken off that ship in Miami. They should have it. They should have given it to the U.S. Attorney's Office, to the FBI, to the Coast Guard. And if they didn't, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
If you have been leaning on credit cards lately just to cover, is being treated out to that good looking finance. A federal indictment has just been handed down straight out to Sidney Silvani, Crime Stories investigative reporter. He is being treated as an adult. He will not be prosecuted in juvenile court. Explain to me, what is in the indictment?
There are 2 charges in this indictment: aggravated sexual assault and first-degree murder. Those are the charges this teenager will be tried as an adult for. And I want to point out, Nancy, this monster is still walking free. He is not in federal lockup. He is not in detention. He is still staying with an uncle with ankle monitoring.
I don't understand what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan, he's walking free.
What's up, Ronan? How you doing, Ronan?
He's not in custody. He's in a private residence. Could you refresh our recollection regarding the injuries to Anna Kepner?
I would welcome that opportunity. And let me tell you what this child went through. She is going to have a pretty serious injury to her neck that would have prevented her from breathing. Okay. It appears that also, and this is in the superseding indictment, mentioned at least from the feds, Nancy, they're using the term penetrative. Okay. They're talking about a penetrative sexual act, which means that this perpetrator, this alleged perpetrator, had violated her in her area or in her area. So when we think about this, we have to begin to think that the injuries that they saw at autopsy apparently state that these events occurred prior to her death. So
Not only that, but then that makes me also wonder what's the responsibility and the accountability that the parents have, right? If you know that your child is on medications, why are they not taking it, right? And if this is something that they really, really need, right? Why in the hell are you letting your child forget it? Doesn't make sense.
That means in the midst of this ag assault or aggravated assault, that they probably found hemorrhage in that area. And I'm talking about contusions, abrasions, and Nancy tears more than likely. And that's going to paint a pretty grim picture in addition to the trauma that she sustained to her neck. And one more spot that they probably would have swabbed relative to her case is Nancy right here on the anterior neck. They're talking about him using an arm bar. That means you've got a point of contact that would go over her neck. We can swab this area right here, search for DNA there as well, in addition to the kit that would have been done. And one more, and I'll shut my mouth. She obviously has gone out and had like her nails done. This is a celebratory cruise, right? Guess what? They're going to have her fingernails. They will have done nail scrapings. They would have done nail clippings. And if there is anything there, the scientist at the forensics lab will find that. That's a very intimate contact that you're talking about. Very, very difficult to explain away, Nancy.
The stark reality, Joe Scott.
You know who did a really good live on this topic is Strategic Eyes. And if you guys haven't heard of Strategic Eyes, you guys should definitely go check him out. I don't know if Obsidian's still in here, but Obsidian mods for his channel, and he's a sex crime detective, and he can literally speak on this topic so well. He's been a detective for 20 plus years. So if you guys haven't, I'm gonna go share his link because he did a hell of a job on this video today. So I'm gonna share it in the chat. Let me just grab his link.
And I've seen so many murder scenes and processed so many murder scenes. But I remember when my dad was buried, I hugged him goodbye. And his body was like cement. I almost wish I hadn't done it. And I'll never shake that. So while we're all worried about, oh no, you showed his face. Oh no, he's charged as an adult. She is like cement, buried. Now, the big concern from the family who is not charged with anything, they're not a person of interest, they're not a suspect. Their big concern, seemingly up to now, has been to protect the stepson.
He was a good student.
Played soccer.
He played soccer, very quiet young man. He had demons, I think, in his past, and he was trying to deal with those.
Barbara and Jeffrey Kepner are shocked Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother is being eyed as the suspect in her murder, describing them as two peas in a pod and very close. She says the teen was distraught when he learned Anna's body was found and couldn't speak during an initial interview with FBI agents. Barbara says the teen claims he can't remember what happened and was hospitalized for psychiatric observation when they arrived back in Miami.
That's a valid question, Ronan, right? 15 and you got demons. Like something's wrong inside the house.
He was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened.
From our friends at ABC, help me, help me. A great soccer player, a good student. He was fine at the breakfast buffet until the body is found. That's when he clams up. He couldn't or he wouldn't speak to authorities. I don't understand, Dr. Cheryl Eric, why am I hearing about what a great guy the stepbrother is? And another thing, we've got the little boyfriend stating, I warned the parents. We've got the boyfriend's father stating, we warned the parents he was or trying to her. She was afraid of him. They put her in a room with him unsupervised. Then that morning, he comes to breakfast and acts like nothing is wrong until the body's found, and suddenly he goes catatonic. BS.
Right. This is getting spun as if he were this distraught that she was missing or that she was dead. But as you're pointing out with the timeline, he got really distraught when the body was found, and it looked like he was in really big trouble potentially. And I think what you're seeing with the parents sure looks like that minimization and that the focus on protecting the boy. And everybody was warning about this, and I have an issue with anyone referring to this as an relationship that they were having. That would make something mutual.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Story. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend.
All right, guys, we're almost done. We're almost done here. We got about 3 more minutes and we'll call it a night.
Greg Morris, why is he out walking free? Why is he living in a private residence when he's got a murder one charge against him?
Oh, that's one of the factors. He's a juvenile, so that's going to weigh heavily on releasing him. The court obviously found that any risk of flight is minimal. They put the monitor on him, and with that, they found he wasn't a danger to the community, and most likely it's because of his age. I have plenty of clients in federal court. They would not be released pre-trial on charges like this, even though obviously everyone's presumed innocent. But again, just like I talked about with insanity or competence, age is a big factor here. Yes, it's a tragic outcome of conduct, but again, he's
Is that Anna? She looks like a totally different person with blonde hair.
Talked about with insanity or competence, age is a big factor here. Yes, it's a tragic outcome of conduct, but again, he's a minor. They felt secure with the family he was living with to not keep him in custody.
Greg Morse and I could argue all day long. It's his profession as it is mine, but let me remind everyone that this stepbrother is innocent under the law. He's presumed innocent. Now, the rest of that sentence is unless and until the state pierces the presumption of innocence with facts and evidence that prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Also, the family, the parents, the step-parents are not charged with anything. We may disapprove of the way they parent, but no one has charged them with neglect or abuse. That's the law as it stands tonight. If you know or think you know anything about this case, even if you consider it insignificant, please dial 754-703-2000, 754-703-2000. Tonight, we remember an American hero, Agent Eddie Santiago Renta, Puerto Rico PD, shot in the line of duty. Tonight, he leaves behind a wife turned widow and 4 children. American hero, Agent Eddie Santiago Renta. Thank you to our guests, but especially to you for being with us tonight and keeping the investigation into Anna Kepner's death alive. Nancy Grace signing off for tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow night. And until then, good night, friend.
Oh, Lord. That was a lot. How y'all feeling? How you guys doing? You guys doing this? This case is a little upsetting, right? And we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait to see how this goes. There's so much news going on, you guys. It's so hard to keep up. We'll definitely be back tomorrow. So, 'cause I need to start streaming, but I miss you guys. I feel like when I don't stream, I just feel like, what am I doing? But I appreciate all of you guys that hung out tonight. Sorry the whole live was so impromptu and unplanned. We really just came on to watch Car Chase, and that didn't happen. Literally ended like 2 minutes in. So I do appreciate all of you guys that came and hung out. Whoever donated to the show, Kokomom with their $20 super chat, also gifted 10 memberships right off the bat, literally as soon as we signed in. And then Cash celebrated 2 months as a member. So thank you for being a member of the Inner Circle. And thank you, Kokomom, for supporting the channel. All of you guys, thank you guys for hanging out. We'll definitely be back tomorrow with something more planned and more, arranged. So these are the best streams, right? The little impromptu ones. Yeah. But I think I need to start planning them so more people can come. It's a nice little, it's nice when we have like 20 people in here. I was going to do a members only, actually, to be honest with you. But again, StreamYard doesn't give you the opportunity or the ability to stream to members only. So we're here hanging out with everybody, just, hanging out. Edith, you just got here. Oh no. And we're just about to call it a night. Well, anyways, Edith, I do thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining us. We are gonna be wrapping up and calling it a night. Thank you to everybody who joined this little impromptu live. We'll be back tomorrow for sure. So I do appreciate all of you guys that did come and hang out. I'm gonna keep saying it over again. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll probably be on like around. Trying to see. Work is super busy, so I got a lot of stuff to do. So we'll probably be on like around 7 or 8 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see. Hopefully sooner. Thank you, Edith. I appreciate that. Do me a favor, you guys. Once this video is done, I don't know, maybe check back and hype the video up. We only got a little crew tonight. So, all right, you guys, that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care, you guys. Love you guys. Peace.